A very big hello to all my lovely people out there who are watching my videos and who are listening to my classes. We have talked about casework and related aspect. In today's class, we'll be discussing about the tools of casework. See, a tool is anything that serves as a means of operation in the practice of a trade, occupation, or a profession. But when it comes to the tools of casework, it is not something like concrete or any instrument or anything that can be handled by one's limbs. So the word tool, which has two common meanings, can be adopted to explain the term casework tools. I would like to quote a simple example of a tool so that the word gets clarified by you all. See, for a painter, the brushes, the colors, the canvas are the tools. So for any profession, so for any practice of a trade, there are different sets of tools which are being used. And when we talk about casework, here the tools of casework are actually the means of contact with something or as a means of transmitting energy or force towards something. When we talk about the first means of contact with something or a means of assist to something, this meaning is applicable to all the 5 casework tools, as they are the means of contact with the clients and assist to information about the client, his family and his problem. Secondly, the casework tools, we can say that they are the means of transmitting energy or force towards something. Now this meaning is applicable only to 3 of the casework tools. They are interview, relationship and home visit. Simply why? Because they serve as a channels of transmission of information, knowledge and finally help. They are the channels through which casework techniques becomes operative. And through these tools of casework, a caseworker is involved in an exercise of his/her mental and physical faculties. Now, before moving ahead with the description of tools of casework, let's see that why there is a need of casework tools. Why do we need them? See, the utility of casework tools is along 3 dimensions, we can say. That is, firstly, for getting the information about the client directly. Secondly, for getting information about the client indirectly. And finally, that is third, for giving help to the client. See, direct information is a characteristic of all the 5 tools, and indirect information applies mostly to observation and in some context to listening also. And lastly, giving help to clients applies to interview, relationship and home visit. In this way, there is a need of casework tools, and with the help of these tools, a caseworker is able to study about the client, his family, his problems in a very systematic way, and then he is able to help solve the problems of the clients. Now we can see in the next slide that casework tools are being mentioned. That is listening, observation, interview, home visits and relationship. Just to make it more clear, I have marked them that which tool gives the indirect information and through which tools we can get the direct information about the client. So let's start with our very first tool, that is listening. See, listening is a very basic casework tool, and to make listening purposeful, we have to be active and attentive. That is, active and attentive listening is purposeful. See, the purpose is to understand the client's words and feelings as accurately as possible. for which mental concentration is pertinent. The listener has to pay attention to what is being said, what is being not said, and what is suggested. Therefore, listening becomes a consciously performed activity by the caseworker. Besides, there are certain important points which has to be kept in mind with this tool, that is of listening. The first important characteristic we can say is that of eye contact. Next is minimum external distractions should be there. Next is no preconceived ideas about the client. Then the ears has to be trained enough to listen everything. That is, no selective listening should be there. Then comes the disciplined thinking and balanced personality. See, there are different kinds of distractions, like external in form of noises in the environment or people talking, and the internal is one's own thoughts. So it is very important to keep oneself away from one's own thoughts so that the caseworker is on the path of active listening. This becomes very important. Here I'll give a simple example. Like Mohan is a very frequent borrower of money among his friends. But today he approached one of his friends for an emotional help and not for the money. But his friend wrongly assumed that he has come for a loan. So while Mohan is trying to talk to him, he doesn't listen to him and gives a reply of refusal for any kind of financial help. But when he realized that Mohan's problem, which he has been saying, is actually something different. So it is very important not to have any sort of preconceived idea about the person. So in this small example also, the preconceived idea has prevented the listener from listening about the client's current problem. Fine. The listener's anxiety or fear concerning the speaker can become a block to good listening. Further, selective listening, which refers to the mental tendency of hearing only what one likes to hear, prevents effective listening. Now, along with all this, there are few guidelines which helps a caseworker to develop a habit of effective listening. That is, as I have already mentioned, but I would like to elaborate it further. It is important to maintain eye contact with the client during conversations, as it helps in maintaining physical and mental attention towards the client. Then the place for the interview should be quiet with minimum external distractions. The caseworker should clear her mind of internal preoccupation or preconceived ideas or opinions about the client. Then the ears should be trained to listen to everything that the client is saying. And the caseworker should be capable of disciplined thinking that helps him to understand what the client says, to make a mental note of what client doesn't say, and to ask appropriate questions relating to it.